Severe flooding has been devastating communities in southeastern Australia this week. Eventually that water will flow into the lower reaches of the Murray-Darling system. Scientists examining the lower lakes and Coorong have discovered microscopic life that they believe has come all the way from Queensland. And as LEAH McLennan explains, the little critters have big implications for river management.
SORELL Lock and Eva Chorska are collecting samples for the Environment Department. Today they're wading into some important research at Lake Alexandrina near Maleng. These samples contain animals that can't be seen with the naked eye, zooplankton, or zoops as the scientists affectionately call them. They're not cute, but they are crucial.
Without the zooplankton, we don't have food for the fish, and then the birds don't have any food. So I guess we'd see a bit of a collapse of the ecosystem if we didn't have the zooplankton.
They've been studying the microbiology of this region for around 18 months. It's the first time this kind of study has been done.
This is all new for us because it's never been sampled around here, so we didn't really know what to expect. Everything it's just baseline survey for us. It's all new information.
That is providing insights that have never been seen before. It's telling a story about where the water in the lower lakes and Coorong has come from.
24.05. Yep.
Because we got the flows coming in from New South Wales and Queensland when they had the floods, there were a lot of species that had come down from Queensland. They were tropical species. We also got a lot of Darling River species as opposed to Murray River, so it looked like it was the Darling that was feeding the lower lakes rather than the Murray.
The man who is helping identify the zooplankton is SHIEL. He's a world expert on aquatic microfauna ecology and spends most of his time identifying zooplankton from samples taken from around Australia and the world. He says the flows from the 2011 Queensland floods were so great, he's found freshwater zooplankton that has washed out of the Murray mouth and into the Southern Ocean. He's also the man who identified Queensland zooplankton in the lower lakes.
They've been recorded in the tropics previously and never recorded this far south, and they're known as cosmotropical, some of them. And I've also worked in the Northern Territory in Queensland and northern Western Australia and found them up there but never found them down here.
Dr SHIEL says microfauna has long been ignored in Australia, and another outcome of this new research is they're finding undiscovered species.
There were several microcrustaceans, very small crustaceans, a couple of species of rotifers, which are about 0.2 to 0.3 millimetre, very small in the food chain, or very small morphology, but they sometimes have very high population densities. And these species haven't been recorded previously. They're different to anything that's known, so I assume that they're new, undescribed.
Oh, SORELL, how'd you go today?
Russell SEAMAN is a senior environmental advisor for the Environment Department and has been in charge of most of the conservation and management of the lower lakes.
So what plankton did you find today?
These ones from here.
From SORELL, yeah?
Yep.
That's good. Interesting to see if the floods have brought down any interesting species down.
Mr SEAMAN says what they're learning here will help them better manage the system.
It really demonstrates how the whole system's connected throughout the basin. It's not just about exporting salt, it's also about nutrients and exporting nutrients and connecting the rivers up into the ocean. It's a very small snapshot into a bigger world.
Richard Kingsford is the director of the Australian Wetlands and Rivers Centre at the University of New South Wales. He says the evidence that zooplankton has travelled hundreds of kilometres down the Darling to South Australia is another piece of evidence in the argument that the system should be managed as a whole.
We've seen some discussion recently about isolating the management of the lower lakes and the Coorong, and some people are proposing removing the barrages, for example, which is really a nonsense. I mean, it's really so important that people understand that the health of the lower lakes and the Coorong is underpinned by environmental flows that come down the Murray and come down the Darling.
Professor Kingsford expects water from the floods in southeastern Australia to quickly reach South Australia, but he says it doesn't change the fact that better management of the system is needed.
We will have another drought coming sooner or later, and it's those periods when we miss out on the medium flows as a result of the building of dams and diversion of water that really affect the system and bring it to its knees. And it's fundamentally important that we have a basin plan that provides enough water for the system to guarantee future sustainability.
The team of scientists are expecting different results with this round of sampling, as the height of the floodwaters has already been felt.
The freshwater flush extended down quite a way, but not into the South Lagoon. And it's been resalinising. There are marine and estuarine animals coming back with the tidal influence and when the Murray mouth's open.
Despite the freshwater flush, the lower lakes in Coorong still haven't bounced back completely. After years of intense drought, salinisation and acidification of soils, it could be some time before they're back to their former health.
Flows return slowly, things can respond slowly and adjust. Because the water came back so quickly, it actually shocked the system a bit. So we're still finding that things are taking a long time to respond. So the lower lakes and the Coorong are still not of perfect health yet. It'll take a long time and a lot of active management to get the system working properly.